What's up, everybody? Welcome to Call to the Bullpen. I'm David Payne with Brad Zampar and Jimmy Miller. It's time to play ball. All eyes this last week have been on Miguel Cabrera, and he finally did it today. Today, Miguel Cabrera singled to right field in his first at-bat against the Rockies to become the 33rd member of the 3,000 hit club. And Bradley, I know you have a bit of fireball there. I know I got some Malibu right here. I think that we owe one of the greatest right-handed hitters of all time a toast. What do you say?
I think he certainly does. He's one of 7 players now who is part of the 3,500 club.
And 2 Baltimore Orioles in that list. Jimmy, I don't know if you got anything on you, man, but if you got some water, you can raise that up. I'm going to make this interesting, like I'm at a ballpark, and I'm going to take it out of an ice cream helmet cup. Brad and I are thinking that helmet shots might be a cool thing at ballparks in the future. So yeah, I'm ready if you are.
Yes, sir.
All right, this one's to you, Mr. 3000. Whew. Love that.
Phenomenal.
All right, let's talk about him now. So he finally got it. He had like a 3 for 4 night to get up to the 2,999. That would have been really fitting if he could have done it, on a 4 for 4 night. That would have been really cool. But then the next night, Thursday night, last at bat of the game, you got a 1-run game late in the game. I think it was the 8th inning, and against the Yankees. And Aaron Boone intentionally walked him to load the bases and to face Austin Meadows. And the home crowd was not happy with that. The fans in Detroit were not happy. And I can't blame them. I wouldn't have been happy either, because you know how much the tickets to that game probably cost? He's going into that game at 2,999 at home. Those guys are paying a fortune to see that game. Listen, I get it, Aaron Boone. You got a game to win. You got a 1-run game to win. But here's my thing. Isn't Miguel Cabrera the guy you want to pitch to there? Don't you kind of want to pitch to the guy with the pressure of 2,999 hits on his shoulders in that situation rather than load? I mean, especially a guy who is, I'm sure he's still hitting plus 300 right now, but he's certainly a past prime guy. And you've got Austin Meadows coming up right behind him. I almost feel like the better option there is to pitch to Miggy and take your chances with him on an 0-for-3 night already versus Meadows. And then, you saw what happened afterwards. The Meadows ball drops in, 2-run score. Ball don't lie is what I got to say about that. But what do you guys think? Intentionally walking him there, given the scenario, right move, wrong move? Would you have done it, not done it? What do you think?
From Boone's perspective, I get it. I mean, it's such a close game. Meadows, he's super hit or miss. When he's on, he's on. When he's not on, it's not fun to watch. If anything, it's just going to help Cabrera's on-base percentage and OPS at the end of the day. He's still got some left in the tank, and I'm excited to see what he does the rest of the year.
Yeah, I get it from Boone's perspective too. You probably want to get a force out at any base in that situation. But, I mean, come on, it's Miguel Cabrera. If you're going to lose, why wouldn't you lose to Miguel Cabrera being the highlight of the entire day? And it turned out they walked him. They lost anyways. So I guess it sort of was a double whammy for Boone at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you don't intentionally walk him and he gets the hit there, the story of the night isn't that you lost the game. It's that Miguel Cabrera got his 3,000th hit. The story of the game kind of became they walked him and it came back to bite them in the ass. So that was a little unfortunate there. But you guys have seen Dave Roberts and Rob Manfred on the Sour rankings. And we did consider Aaron Boone for the Sour rankings as a result of this. But like we all kind of said, this scenario did warrant it. If that's somebody other than someone with 2,999 hits, we don't bat an eye at that. If Mike Trout gets intentionally walked there, we don't bat an eye at that. That's just smart baseball. So at the end of the day, he's not going to make it onto the Sour rankings for that one. But Jimmy, I want to go to you because you came last year as a guest to the show a lot to talk about the Mets. And last year was a real up or down year for the Mets. But this year, so far, smooth sailing so far. So take us through what has been behind the Mets' success thus far.
Yeah, they're 11-4. They lead all of baseball with 11 wins. They're 4 games above the Braves, the only team in the division above 500. Their starting rotation has a 2.07 ERA, best in baseball. I think we're seeing Chris Bassett, Max Scherzer. You always see them, even when they're not pitching in the dugout, talking to the young guys. They're great leaders. Lindor looks a lot more comfortable in the clubhouse and interviews playing. He's having a good start to his career. Carlos Carrasco, a big bounce back year. I'm really excited to see what he could do. And yet Tyler McGill, David Peterson, the younger guys are really feeding off Scherzer and his knowledge. And Buck Showalter is a complete culture change. We don't really see the clubhouse antics that we saw last year under Rojas. And I don't think that this is just a year where they start off hot and then they tank like they usually do. I think they're here to stay.
Yeah, and Brad, you have been to Citi Field this year. Did it take over on the Instagram story of the game you were at? Saw them play against the Giants, I believe. So do you feel it in the ballpark? Is there a difference? You went to Mets games last year too, only being an hour or so away. So is there a difference when you're watching the product on the field and just in the atmosphere of the ballpark?
Yeah, absolutely. I went to the game and I saw them win 3-1. The aurora around the team, especially with Buck being back there, and obviously from in our Baltimore days with having him here, it was just fundamental baseball every inning, every pitch. And you could just really sense that with the players on the field, that they really just went out there, wanted to do their job for that moment, and then that was it. And then the ballpark was just electric. It was, winning obviously cures everything, but the ballpark seems very high.
Yeah, after the offseason that they had, you have to expect that early on the fans are going to be buzzing. I think that this could be the year that they're legit, really. I think it could be what Jim said, and that this could really be the year that they stick it out. I think last year you got so sidelined and sidetracked by the thumbs down thing and the raccoon thing. And you just know that those things do not fly under Buck. There's no question. There's no consideration in any of their minds of any kind of clubhouse antics under Buck. I think that's the offseason acquisitions were fantastic for them, but I do think that he's the real game changer there. But speaking of some teams that tend to start hot and fall off or start slow and then pick it up, I want to talk about a few teams here that have gotten off to either surprising hot starts or surprisingly cold starts, starting with another team that last year had some off-field issues that is again being plagued with some off-field issues, which is the Chicago White Sox. Which I guess the issue in question that happened this week was technically an on-field issue with Tim Anderson flipping off some fans. He was on the field for it. It wasn't a baseball issue, but he was on the field. But you got him flipping off fans out of frustration. You have maybe the worst start I've ever seen in a baseball game from Dallas Keuchel the other day, where he let up 10 runs in what was it? He was one inning. He didn't get an out in the second inning, so it was technically one inning. Tony La Russa left him in the game after he gave up a grand slam to go down 7-0. The South Side seems super questionable to me this year. It's not Chicago, it's Chicago to me this year. But are you guys concerned yet? I think that they're along the lines of a mid-2010s Detroit Tigers team where they're going to have all this talent and never reach that potential. But are you concerned or not yet?
I'd say I'm pretty concerned, especially with the Guardians being better than I imagined they would be. I think the Tigers are on the rise too. I'm not too confident in their ability to win this year. I think La Russa's kind of past his time as a manager. I'm concerned with Anderson with the flipping off incident. Yeah, they have a bunch of talent there, but Liam Hendricks has been questionable as a closer this year. I don't know. I think they're just one of those teams that they're going to have all the talent in the world, but they're not going to win. Maybe 90 wins is their cap. I don't think they get over 90 wins this year.
Yeah, I would say there's certainly cause for concern, but I don't think I'm as down on them as both of you guys are. I think it's just a team that's getting out of the gate slow for whatever reason, and they're missing the top two pitchers. Obviously, that's going to hurt them. And I feel like that as long as that offense stays healthy, which really has been an issue so far with Pollock missing time, and then you had the Anderson suspension to start the year. You had Lou Bob go down the other day, which he's not supposed to go on the IL, but he is going to miss a few games. And as long as they stay healthy, I think that there's going to be a chance for them to end up at the top at the end of the year.
It just feels like for me, whenever there's not an injury happening, there's some sort of off-field antics happening, and it's like they can't avoid all of them. You have last year Eloy go down and Lubob go down. Kopech can't stay healthy. Now you got the two guys at the front of the rotation going down. It seems to be one of those like baby bomber situations where like you have that team that feels like it's going to go do it, and then just everything that can go wrong, does go wrong. But Jim, you mentioned the Guardians, and that's the next team that I want to talk about. Off to a 7-7 start after nobody really expected them to be. I mean, it's a weak division. Maybe you thought that they would come in, second or third place somehow, but nobody expected them to get off to this hot of a start. But I think this one might be for real. I think they might just really actually be a sneaky good team. I think that they have the pitching to be a sneaky good team. I think that they have the best third baseman in baseball. I think coming off a rebrand, maybe there's a different kind of energy there, and that, plays a bigger role in baseball, I think, than in other sports. So I think maybe this one could be for real.
Yeah, I like Tristan McKenzie a lot. I like Zach Plesac. Josh Naylor's come out and just raked. I've always been high on him. I've always been waiting for him to just break out. He's just a big guy. I think that he's going to be a big factor in their success this year.
Yeah, I like what the Indians have done. I mean, like you said, David, their pitching is just, it seems endless, only second to the Rays. They always have another guy coming up. And as long as the offense just stays the course and they get better every day, there's no reason why they can't compete for the wild card spots.
Yeah, I think that they could be this year's Brewers, maybe, where the pitching carries them to a playoff spot, with a maybe subpar lineup, 2 or 3 real solid, star potential guys in there, with your J-Ram, Naylor, where the Brewers had, Yelich leading that lineup. But I think if the pitching holds up, they could do what the Brewers did last year and kind of surprise everyone. But let's hop over to a team also in the American League that has historically had pitching issues. That's off to a hot start, which is the Angels. You see a healthy Ohtani, a healthy Trout, 8-6 so far, leading that division, ahead of, the A's have been hot. The Astros have been off to a rough start. I'm always going to be skeptical of the Angels, more skeptical of the Angels than I ever am of the Mets or anything. So the Angels are not for real. It's not happening for them this year. Sorry.
Yeah, I do agree, but I think they'll go as far as Syndergaard goes. The guy's been on fire. He's 2-0, 1.59 ERA. That 1 year, $21 million deal is looking pretty good right now. Maybe that extra ace will get them over the hump to potentially get a wild card spot. So, yeah, I think if Syndergaard could stay healthy and stay performing at a high level, maybe they have a shot, but I do think they are a fluke.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't put them anywhere near the favorite to win that division anytime soon. But, I mean, the back end of their bullpen is relatively solid. But if they get another pen piece in there, and then if you add another top 2, maybe top 3 starting pitcher, I think there's a chance that you could make a run for wild card spots.
Yeah, I think, if Syndergaard keeps it up through the deadline, Shohei stays healthy through then, I think that you probably make a run for it at the deadline if you're them. But it would be really fun to see, Trout, Ohtani, Rendon, all of them in the playoffs. But, with the expanded playoffs, maybe they'll make it, but not a contender for the, to win the last game of the season there. But staying in that division, the A's are 8-7 after completely tearing down the entire roster this year. They're getting 3,000 fans to a game, and yet somehow they're still winning ball games. I don't get it. I don't think it's legit. I think this is just a hot start. I don't know, fluke for me.
Yeah, I'd go fluke as well. I think if the Angels are hot, then the A's are going to suffer, and I think it's going to be a big pull and take between them. I think they're a fluke as well. They gave up a whole lot this offseason. I don't see them being above 85 wins at the most.
Yeah, I feel like Billy Beane always puts a decent but never great product out there on the field. I think there was some stat where it might have been last year when I saw it, but he hasn't had a team lose more than or win less than like 74 games in a year, which is kind of crazy considering like they've never really been at the end of the year or even in the ALCS. But I don't think they'll be like picking in like the top 5 picks or something like that. It's just something in Oakland always works where they're at least decent.
But hey, that's not what we play for. I'll throw you back to the very last thing you see on the screen before the credits and Moneyball, and that is Billy Beane still has not won the last game of the season. But again, staying in that division, 3 teams in this division because the Astros are off to quite the slow start, which in a pretty weak division these days you wouldn't expect. But 6-7 to start. For me, this is just a slow start. They are still one of the most talented teams in baseball. They're still a top 5 contender to win the World Series. So this is just a slow start for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're probably the favorite to win that division, if not second place. I think they'll easily get a wild card spot at the very least. Verlanders look good. I'm not too concerned about them.
Brad? Oh, we lost Brad. Is Brad there?
No, I'm not going to too concerned to have injury problems with like Altuve. And then, hello?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, we got you. Go ahead.
Connection was unstable.
We got you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like the Astros are all right. The Astros are, as long as the lineup doesn't get injured, they've had COVID problems a few times already. Altuve's on the IL, and I feel like the pitching that they have is going to be enough to carry them to the end of the year.
So we can hop over to the National League now, probably piss off our friends over at the Frozen Rope podcast here talking about the Phillies, because I think that this is exactly what the Phillies are going to be all year long. I think you're looking at a around 500 team in Philadelphia. They're 6-8 right now, towards the bottom of the division. I think that's what the Phillies are. I think we know that the pitching and the bullpen is paper thin, and that you can't really just slug your way to a division title anymore, especially in that stacked division.
Yeah, I totally agree. They're going to need Noel to step up in a big way, have a real bounce back season, get back to his form that he was a few years ago. They're going to need Wheeler to come back and be as good as he was last year. And that's a lot to ask out of, their 2 best pitchers. I think this is what we're going to see, like you said, out of them. That offense is going to be good. They've been pretty good, but they're not going to hold in that division.
Yeah, it's like what you guys said. The pitching is just not going to hold up there for them to be able to eke out a wild card spot. It's just the one thing they needed to address this offseason. They over-dipped on the offense and forgot about the pitching.
Yep. Now, speaking of pitching, the Cardinals are without Jack Flaherty, but are still 8-4 right now. I think that the Cardinals are NL Central good. I don't think that they're Major League Baseball good. I think they're good enough to win that division, maybe by a pretty decent margin. If the Cubs don't do what I think they're gonna and make a run for it. But I think that they're good enough to win a division, but not good enough to do anything in the playoffs. So I'll say that they're regular season legit, but not long-term legit.
Yeah, I don't know if they win that division. The Brewers' starting pitching hasn't been as good as we expected it to be. I do think the Cubs maybe make a run at like a second, third place, a wild card spot. I think the Cardinals will finish in second place. I've been saying, I think 90 wins is their cap. Goldies needs to bounce back. He's kind of off to a slow start. It's a very thin lineup with not a lot of bench. They didn't do a whole lot this offseason. So yeah, I'd say it's kind of a fluke thus far.
Yeah, I don't really like the pitching on that team. I don't think you can name a reliever anymore since the Jordan Hicks, right, is in the starting rotation now. So I feel like, especially without Flaherty, I don't really know how far that team is going to go.
Oh, come on. You can't name Gio Gallegos. We did a whole episode on him last year with the shit on his hat.
Gallegos.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I think the Brewers are ass. I think that you guys are way too high on the Brewers. I think that they suck, honestly. I think that they're not a good baseball team. I think that any team, I think that they're like I said, they're the Guardians. If the pitching falls through, then they're gonna come in fourth place in the division. But yeah, I talked about that last week on the question of the week. But the last team is another team that I also think sucks. That is the Colorado Rockies. They're 8-5 right now. People are asking me, why aren't the Rockies on the power rankings? It's because the Rockies aren't good, guys. It's 13, 14 games into the season, and the Rockies got off to a hot start. If the Rockies win more than 85 games, I'll get their mascot Dinger tattooed as a tramp stamp right above my ass. Because they suck. They're especially in a division with the Giants and with the Padres and with the Dodgers. You come on. They're horrible. Go ahead, Jim.
I don't think they've played away from home yet this year. Maybe I think they're in Detroit now, but they win at home. It's the same thing every year. Let's see how they do first series on the road against a decent team. They've played at home thus far, and they're in Detroit now playing a pretty poor team. So once they start to play like the Giants and the Dodgers, it's all over for them.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I am going to go out on a limb here, and it might be the Fireball, but in that same division last year, there was a team by the name of San Francisco Giants that everybody pegged to be a last place team. And you know what the Rockies are going to do this year? They're going to at least make the playoffs.
Fuck off. Come on. No, but the Giants won 3 World Series in the last 15 years.
That's fair.
What have the Rockies done?
Nothing, but this team is I just feel like there's something with this team where everybody keeps pegging them, and they have an offense. I feel like as long as they have pitching, which they have 2 very solid 2s, I wouldn't call either Freeland or Marquez a 1. I would call them solid 2s. And if they can do that, I feel like there's a chance for them to get into the playoffs.
I just think it's really hard when you have, if you think 19 games versus the Padres, Dodgers, Giants each, that's 57 games. They're going to lose 40 of those games at least. That's 40 losses just in their division. I just can't see, them not losing another 50 games outside of the division, honestly. But hey, I'm open to being proven wrong. And if you're right, man, I'm happy to take a trip to the tattoo shop with you. Seth Bruschi back again with his second rookie of the week. All right, Brad, take us down to the farm.
So on the AAA level, it's going to be Jose Furman, who is a third baseman for the Columbus Clippers. He's not ranked on the Guardians top 30, but he was signed out of the Dominican in 2016. He's 23 years old. He is on the week. He went 9 for 20, 2 doubles, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, scored 7 times, stole 3 bases, and his slugging was .850. On the AA level, we have a right fielder from the Pescacola Blue Wahoos in Jair Encarnacion. He is the 22nd ranked prospect in the Marlins system. He went 10 for 18, 556 average, 2 doubles, 3 homers, 6 RBIs, 2 walks to only three walks to only 2 strikeouts, and a 1.167 slugging percentage. And down on the A-ball level was Drew Baker, who's a center fielder for the Charleston River Dogs. He was a 2021 fourth round pick, my mistake, out of Texas Tech with the Rays. While he's not ranked inside the top 30, this week he went 8 for 19. He hit 420, 1 homer, 6 RBIs, walked 7 times to only 3 strikeouts, and he also stole 4 bases.
What an ironic week to hit 420, right? On the week of it. Not one, but 2 unranked prospects there getting Player of the Week honors. But let's hold some umpires accountable now. Who are our best and worst umpires from this last week?
So I want to give it was a close for the best of the umpire of the week, and he didn't win, but Angel Hernandez had a phenomenal game in Fenway. But the winner this week for the best umpire of the week is going to be James Foy. He did the Blue Jays and Red Sox game as well. His overall favor was 0.03 runs for Toronto, and Toronto ended up winning that game 3-2. His overall accuracy for the day was 96%. His consistency for the day was 100%. Called balls was 96%, and his called strike was 97%. But for the worst umpire of the week, not to be confused with Tom Holland, it is Tom Hallian. He did the Cardinals and Marlins game on Wednesday. The Cardinals won 2-0, and his overall favor for the day was 2.3 runs for the St. Louis Cardinals. Overall accuracy for the day was 90%. Overall consistency for the day, 83%. Called ball accuracy, 92%, and his called strike accuracy was 83%.
I think that if we were to do a movie poster for Tom Hallian, it would be Spider-Man Out at Home. Maybe would be the name of that film. But hey, we might rag on Angel Hernandez when he sucks, but we're gonna give credit when he's good, right? We're impartial here. We're not only calling guys out when they're bad, but thank you, Brad, for those keeping our umpires accountable here. But we're going to go to our top 5 plays from this last week, being led by Miguel Cabrera's 3,000th hit. Now we're going to go to Cooper with our MLB colorized photo of the week.
Welcome back to Photo of the Week. This week's picture features Warren Spahn and Felipe Alou. Shown is Spahn delivering a pitch to Alou in the midst of a second no-hitter on April 28, 1961. The Braves won the game by a score of 1-0, with Spahn facing the minimum 27 batters. Spahn, 40, faced the star-studded Giants lineup including Willie Mays, Willie McCovey, Orlando Cepeda, and Felipe Alou, shutting them all down. The only runs scored by the Braves came from an RBI single in the bottom of the first, with Hank Aaron driving and Frank Bowling. The top of the ninth presented some trouble for Spahn, as Charlie Lou dropped a pop in foul territory before Spahn struck out the batter. Next, Jose Pagan laid down a perfect bunt where Spahn was just quick enough to make the play by half a step. Then, with 2 outs in the ninth, a ground ball was hit at the shortstop, McMillan, where he bobbled the ball and recovered just in time to get the last out. In his next start against the Dodgers on May 3rd, Spahn pitched a 2-hitter. Spahn remains the second oldest pitcher to ever throw a no-hitter behind Nolan Ryan, who did so at 44 years old. Thanks. Now back to the guys.
Thanks to Cooper for that. Now we're going to head to our Power and Sour rankings. Power and Sour rankings are presented by Fit and Faded. Fit and Faded promotes cannabis as a dietary supplement for fitness enthusiasts like myself. Head to fit-faded.com to check out their products ranging from athleisure wear to protein and pre-workout and CBD products. We're going to kick it off with the sour rankings. Again, this is the worst of the worst from the last week, and nobody has been worse than the consensus number 1 pick, Cincinnati Reds. And number 2 is the Texas Rangers. Number 3, even though they had the Rookie of the Week twice now, is the Arizona Diamondbacks. Number 4 is the Phillies, who have just underperformed. Number 5 is the Washington Nationals. Heading to the power rankings, counting it down from number 5. Number 5 is the Houston Astros. Number 4, the Chicago White Sox. Number 3 is the Toronto Blue Jays. Number 2, Jimmy's New York Mets. And number 1, still the Los Angeles Dodgers. Again, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Thank you guys for watching. Be on the lookout on social media at CTBP Pod for all the corresponding posts to all of our segments, as well as our mailbox segments. You guys can find us, the David Payne, at Jimmy_Miller4, at Brad Zampar. We'll see you guys next week with another episode.
Play ball.